Orlando, I must remember you. The night your nightclub wept tears of blood in the second largest massacre in the history of the United States of America. Your gay children stripped to their knees, 49 pulses bouncing to the floor and lying as still as the bodies taken in shrouds to the cemetery. That night, the way it was supposed to be, black and brown bodies dancing like they could live forever, stripping the gleaming night away as their bodies moved, arms reaching in this dance, not knowing it was the last night of their lives. Until the bullet came, turned into music, became blood, thudding like a drumbeat through the last safe space, turned it into screams. Black people, brown people, queer people who had found a home. How many screams tore open that night when the word home became a bullet aimed at the breasts of the mother who stood protecting her son. The bullet that tore through the arteries of Louis Omar Ocasio-Capel's life snapped his heartstrings like tissue paper at a pride parade. Was the same bullet of hatred that had blasted into Harvey Milk's skull 38 years before, the bullet that lodged itself in the pulse of an entire community, grieving, begging the sky to undo itself, the blood to unpaint the walls, crawl back into flesh and become heartbeat, trying to wash the sorrow from our cheeks. Breathing. Our hearts still beating somehow through all this dust and grief, the one pulse the bullet did not hit. I walked around with Orlando in my chest, sat down at my desk at school and saw bodies spill onto the table. Nobody else seemed to speak of the blood of my people that poured through gaping holes in the roof of our safety. I tried to shake awake the ashes of all the hope I burned each night, shuddering in the face of everyone who could afford to be alive, who could afford to not be afraid, who could hear on the news that 49 people had died and not even worry that their brother would be next, that they would be next. Because we were a bunch of white kids from Salt Spring Island, and sometimes you forget safety can become apathy when you see the bodies on the dance floor and don't remember that they fought the same choking skies as you, that she just wanted to curl up close to her to keep warm that night. He just wanted to kiss him close and walk home hand in hand. No one was prepared for stretchers, for ambulances, the screaming siren of despair. All we wanted was the world to offer us safety, and we got a death threat instead. Emptiness. In town, all those quiet faces, their silence choking, all those people living somehow like there weren't hospitals laden with drained bodies screaming for mercy, like there weren't gay men being turned back from the blood donation clinics, their tears tracing the sidewalk home. For weeks, it was so easy to identify anyone who was queer. They were the only people who I could ask, "How are you doing?" and be greeted with the same horrified sadness that throbbed in every part of me that still believed I was free. My grief, an echo chamber where rage gave tongue to emptiness. My community terrified of the bodies the families refused to claim, somehow holding each other. I could see it in everyone's eyes. I was young, but they had all done this before. I broke down at the earnest, smiling faces, gazing from the memorial, wondering how many families had split open like our broken, gaping, rending hearts. Our tears mean something in this battered world. The flowers are washed off by the tide, but the salt is a reminder to keep growing our wings, to throw ourselves before the bullet until the day it is no longer shot. We are only as wicked as the darkness in our hearts, so let us claim the breaths that were lost. These hearts are not our hearts. They belong to Orlando. They belong to a future where that man never reached for a gun. Whenever my mind was quiet, I imagined who walked in after it was over, who folded the arms of the killer over his chest. I refuse to believe his heart didn't bleed open like ours that night. Who carried away the rubble of the walls? Who washed the blood from the ground? What do you do with all that blood and sorrow? All I know is I have never known pride and fear, like standing in a circle 100 strong, gazing at the rainbow flags still standing tall, waving like a promise the whole world could read, singing, "We will be your standing stone. We will always be here. We will show up tomorrow, elders reminding us how to grieve our dead, passing on our history with open arms and warm eyes. All of us will remember to smile at each day, hold each other tight, knowing that pride comes from surviving and we have each other to shake the night loose and turn it into song, because someday the music can go on all night, brown queer bodies moving across the dance floor, and not one bullet will fire into that safety. I will be your standing stone. I will stand by you." Thank you.